Hi, everyone, and welcome again. The number's 412-621-9728. We have a big lineup today, so let's go ahead and introduce my co-host. To my right, Darcy Hyman, my educational consultant. Thanks again for coming to the program.
Thanks, Neil. I always like being on.
An hour is just not enough time, and I have to tell my producer, Chris Perrone, that not enough time. We need to go to an hour and a half. Hopefully next year we'll be going to that in the fall. But then also, I want to introduce my guests. Again, bring back the great Vicky Cobb. Vicky, thanks for calling the program today. Are you there, Vicky? Hello, Vicky.
Oh.
Yes.
Hi, Vicky. How are you?
I am very well. How are you, Neil?
Very good. And I understand you brought someone again with you.
Yes,
that's
I did.
Another one of your experts of non-children's literature.
Nonfiction.
Nonfiction children's literature.
It is very much. It's nonfiction literature. It's not non-literature.
Oh, yeah. Non-children's. I said non-children's fiction. Oh, nonfiction children's literature.
It's Friday, Neil. I get it.
I know. Exactly. It's Friday. All right. So go ahead and introduce your guest.
My guest is David M. Schwartz, who is an extraordinary mathematician, and he has turned his lifelong sense of wonder into award-winning nonfiction math books, including How Much is a Million?, If You've Hopped Like a Frog, and G is for Google, spelled Googol, which is the real name. And he has spoken at over 1,000 schools around the USA and the world, where he gets kids to scream with delight and howl with laughter at math. Get that. So, hi, David. Are you there?
Hi, Vicki. Hi, Neil. Yes, I am here.
Yes, and also we're with Darcy Hyman as well, and we're ready to ask some questions. But I tell you, David, I love math. So
you
I'm
love
really,
math. Well,
I'm a math teacher in elementary school, but also I tutor kids up to high level in mathematics. So math's my favorite subject. So I'm really interested in hearing how you use nonfiction children's literature books to engage students. So first question I have for you is, what do math and nonfiction children's literature have to do with each other?
Well, the answer right now is quite a bit. When I was a child, perhaps when you were a child, though I don't exactly know how old you are, there were not many books that you'd call literature that had anything to do with math.
Oh, absolutely.
But that has changed. In 1985, I published my first book, which was How Much is a Million?, which is whimsical ways to understand the numbers million, billion, and trillion, see how they relate to each other, see how our number system works, how we use it when we're writing or talking about big numbers. And it was not the first, but one of the first books that kids would actually pick up, find in a public library or a bookstore, or maybe at their school, pick up, read, laugh, enjoy, and learn a lot. Well, it's great that came out in 1985 and people liked it, but what's even greater is that many other authors have started to do the same kind of thing of writing books that are informative and entertaining and mind-stretching and have everything to do with math. So now you could find multiple books in almost any subcategory of mathematics for children, books that kids would want to read and parents would want to read with children, and teachers can use to supplement what they are teaching in the classroom and make it way more meaningful to kids than just going through the dry exercises in their math textbooks.
All right. Well, I'm sure Darcy has a very interesting question as well.
I do. Actually, I was wondering, how did math become a subject of passion for you personally, and what lessons can others learn from your experience?
Well, I've always wondered about the world, and very often my questions, going back to my childhood, had to do with numbers. So I would ask my teachers, how many hairs do you think I have on top of my head? I'd wonder how many stars there are and how long it would take to count them. I'd go out on my bicycle. I'd go on a long bike ride, but then I'd start thinking, well, maybe this feels like a long bike ride, but it's nothing compared to the distance around the world. Suppose I could ride my bike around the world, over the oceans, all the way around the world. How long would that take? And I'd wonder about these things, and as I got older, I tried to find ways to answer these questions. And this stayed with me through my, youth and into college and beyond. I did some teaching also, and I just became more and more fascinated by the, let's just say, the mathematical aspects of the world. So one night, I was outside, I was looking at stars, I was remembering how I used to think about them when I was a child. I was remembering how I'd ask myself questions like, if I could get into a spaceship and go to the most distant star, how long would that take? And what's beyond that? What's at the end of the universe? And so I thought, well, gee, I had this feeling as a child that was so exciting about the enormity of things. So maybe I could write a book for kids that would give them those same feelings of awe. You might remember that the word awesome actually means something to do with awe, filled with awe. Nowadays, people use awesome just to mean pretty good, but I used to have genuine awe when I thought about things like this. And it wasn't only large things. I loved the natural world. I would look at animals, and I do remember maybe I was in 5th grade, and I would go to a pond in my neighborhood, and I would watch the frogs. And I loved the way the frogs could jump. And I started thinking, gee, I wish I could hop like a frog in proportion to my size. So I wish I could jump as many times my own size, my own height, as a frog can jump how many times its own length. And so I wondered how far I could go if I could do that. And so I estimated how far a frog actually did hop, compared it to its own size, found out it could hop 20 times its own body's length, and then imagine myself doing that.
Wow,
I later turned that into a book called If You Hopped Like a Frog, which is actually a book about proportions. But the real point is that by just having my eyes open, my mind open, asking questions, wondering things, sometimes driving adults crazy with my questions, but no worries, I could then remember that later as an adult and try to turn that into books. And I also hope that adults, whether they are authors or not, is not the important thing. Parents, teachers can try to foster that sense of wonder about the world that children have. They almost all have it when they're really young, and then something happens to it. So one of the ways that we can encourage it, I think, is by exposing kids to really good children's literature. And in the case, what I'm talking about now is really good children's literature that has to do with math.
All right, well, fantastic. And what I see is so important is what can parents do to make their children better at math? I mean, I talk to parents all the time, and they're wondering that question, especially when I tutor kids all over the Pittsburgh area and via Skype, that I see all the time, parents asking me, how can they be better at math? And especially
that's great that they're asking you. It's great that you're tutoring. Yeah, I think to a lot of parents, helping their kids with math means flashcards, practicing the multiplication facts in the car, but boy, oh boy, there's so much more. So the first thing is to recognize that math is everywhere in our world, and to find it in its everywhere it is. I mean, let's just stay with the example of being in the car. You see a sign, speed limit 55, 65, whatever it is. Where are we going? How long will it take us to get there? All kinds of mathematical questions that can come out of traveling. How about the mathematical questions and the mathematical processes that come from something like cooking? Okay, involves measuring. It might involve dividing portions. I went to the home of a friend once that she had baked this nice rectangular frittata that we were going to have for lunch. And normally there were 4 people in that family, but with me there as a guest there were going to be 5. So the twin girls, who were I think about 6 or 7, got to figure out how to divide up this tray, this baking dish of frittata, into portions. Let's suppose each person was going to get 2 portions. How are we going to do it? How would that be different from when there were only 4 people there? Suppose there were 6 people there. So, there's math. There's math everywhere. There's math in sports. There's math in the supermarket.
Absolutely.
There's math in walking down the street and going to a zoo or a museum. So look for what I call math moments. I write about math moments. It's a column I write. I post it on my blog that's on my own website, davidschwartz.com. And I just collect great examples of parents and kids doing math together. Oh, here's another one. A family saw this nature show on TV, and it talked about a giant squid, and it gave something about the length of this giant squid. And so the family did just a little bit more research. They came up with a drawing of a squid that they printed from a website, and then they made their own scale model drawing of the squid out in their cul-de-sac where they lived, doing the measurements, comparing it to the actual data they had on the squid. What fun! And it was so beautiful when they were all done. And then the children, including some neighborhood kids who came by, they were attracted by this activity, noticed how large the squid's eye was. And so this all happened spontaneously. No adult planned this. The kids lay down on the ground in the cul-de-sac. You know, they had blocked it off, no cars, and they put their heads on the eye to see how many children's heads would fit in the size of the eye of the squid. And then the dad started talking to them about how you could understand circles and the area of circles, and so that math got a little bit advanced there. So it can be done on all levels. I remember a friend whom I ride bicycles with. I love to ride my bike. I often ask mathematical questions while I'm on my bike. And a friend I ride with was talking about how his son was talking about the hills that he'd been going up and down on his bicycle, and relating it to what he'd been learning in school about slope, change of y over change of x. And so there's a math moment and a math connection that happened out of that discussion. So parents can find math. They can help make it meaningful to their children, which really makes it fun and not just a chore, not just something you have to do because your teacher requires it.
Well, I can't believe, David, such information. We could probably do 2 interviews with you at the time. Vicki, wasn't that amazing?
That is amazing. And I have a son who has 2 children. My son's an engineer, and he told me, he said, if you don't know math, he said, it's like trying to describe a scene to a blind person. I mean, you could describe it, but you don't really know what it's like. And he said, if you don't know math, you cannot see the universe.
Absolutely, and I can't believe we're running out of time, but let's first of all get more information. How can we find more information on you, David, and then also more information on Vicki? We got about a minute.
Well, I do have a website. It's my name, davidschwartz.com, and you just have to spell it right, DAVIDSCHWARTZ.com. And you can find information about me and my presentations and my books on my website, and you can also look up my books through lots of other sources online and elsewhere. Go into a public library or a bookstore and look for books under my name, and you'll find quite a variety. At least I hope you will, and I think you will.
Absolutely. Vicki, you got about 20 seconds.
All I want to do is say that David is one of the authors on Inc. Think Tank, INK, thinktank.com. We are having our first computer side chat in about 10 days where we're going to be streaming video live, and if you register for our database, you will get an invitation. So
all right.
The database is free, and you can find all kinds of wonderful nonfiction books by searching the database.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Vicki. Thank you, David, for calling in. What great information. We have to set you up for another interview, maybe on Blog Talk Radio as well, one of my other shows on the Total Education Network. Okay, that was...
Thank you so
You're
much,
welcome.
Neil.
All right, that was David Schwartz and Vicki Cobb. Excellent. And we'll be back in just a moment. You're listening to the Total Education Hour.
My father spent his last teenage birthday in a ring of fire. I will not die here, he said to himself. 50 years later, he whispered the same thing to me from the hospital bed. You know, my dad, he's always had time for me. There are a lot of memories that we feel lucky to have shared with him. All he wants is a few more moments and a place he loves, surrounded by the people who love him.
Hospice provides the end-of-life care you and your loved ones want and need. It's available to everyone.
With the help of the people at our local hospice, he got his wish. And so did we.
Call a hospice in your community for more information on this service that makes the most of moments with the people you love. Hospice care. Comfort and compassion when it's needed most.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in local schools. They were at Bunker Hill, Gettysburg, Iwo Jima, Quezon. They've been under the sea and to the moon. They stand watch in Korea. They keep drugs away from our shores. They patrol our skies every day, every year. These are your sons and daughters. You see them in church and at Little League games. But they are special because they work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
Oh, hi. We're back to the Total Education Hour. We're with Darcy Hyman, my co-host, and I think we do have our guest on the line from aboard, the director, Lou Randall. Are you on the program right now? Thanks for calling in. Is Lou in? She's not. Okay. All right. Well, Darcy, wasn't that awesome about David Schwartz and Vicky Cobb? David, we really could interview him for an hour. He had such interesting things to talk about with math.
Yeah.
And how I see how important it is to get kids engaged in math and not just look at numbers.
Right.
But we do have our guest on the line, Lou Randall, the director of a board. Thanks for calling the program today.
Sure, Neil. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm really excited because, again, one of my advocacies is definitely autism. Can you tell our listeners out there what a board is?
Sure. A board stands for the Advisory Board on Autism and Related Disorders. And our mission is to connect families to the information and resource they need to handle autism. We serve mostly people in Western Pennsylvania. We have about 8,000 people on our email list. Provide a lot of phone counseling. We like to spend a lot of time on the phone, especially with families the first time they call, to cover any kind of concerns they have with their child or any age. We offer also support groups. We have 60 support groups right now running in 47 counties, mostly around like the Southwest region. And we've provided about 90 conferences since 1992 on all kinds of aspects of autism.
All right. Well, I think it's so important. Can you give me some, I guess not a story of how you've helped families with autism? Like you don't have to mention the name of them,
right,
but how you've been able to help. Because I've been hearing from so many families that I serve in the autism community how well you help families.
Oh, that's really nice. I'm glad. So we could. Well, anytime the phone rings, we really never know what's happening at the other end of the line. Autism's quite varied. So we could, let's see, this week, we've gotten a call from a family who needed some advocacy help to have a service dog accompany their child, in different parts of their life. We helped with that and actually had some good resolution fairly quickly with that. People have a lot of concerns with school, and we really try to help mediate and find solutions. So we might have to sometimes help educate a teacher, point them to a book.
Okay.
We've got a lending library of 800 volumes, so we can ship those out for free and have them returned also at no cost. Families will call us about concerns about associated medical issues, and we try to guide them to the right specialists, because autism is very confusing. Kids and adults can't always exactly express what's wrong with them, so we try to tease out, some kind of issues, maybe refer them to sometimes a neurologist. And even among neurologists, we have some that specialize in seizure disorders, some that specialize in mitochondrial disorders. So there's a lot of different ways we help families connect to resources that they need to find.
And that's fantastic because, again, as I find out, the public schools, and even with wraparound, Lou, we run into a lot of times where they aren't trained well enough. And
yeah, I agree, and I really find that the issue right now probably is within our colleges. And part of the issue, I think, is that we haven't had good autism research really up until about 6 or 7 years ago. So we've got faculty, professors at that level that they've never received the right training and background, so we're all kind of behind the 8 ball. And I don't really think it's anybody's fault per se.
No.
But we've really got to get out there, and I teach teachers all over the region, and I'll tell them, you're not supposed to know this stuff. Don't feel badly about knowing it. We kind of have to apply some rehab principles in the classroom or, with direct instruction, and we really try to, I teach with a lot of brain pictures and help people understand what's happening in that mind so that we know better how to help kids.
Absolutely, and how they vary, Lou, is amazing. And I know Darcy has a question for you.
I do. Actually, first of all, Lou, is such an honor to have you on the program. I think what you're doing is fantastic.
Listen, it's really not me. I have great staff. We have all 3 people that work in my office are moms. Their kids range in age from 5 to 20, and they've been there, done that, and they're very good at their jobs. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I did want to ask you, I know you do some group counseling. I wondered if you could just talk a little bit on that and the benefits of group counseling. I know some people may not want to go to something where they do have to talk with a group, but do you think that there's benefit to this, or is there any way that anyone can overcome anything that they may feel about it?
Yeah. That's a good question. We do provide support groups, and these are run by other parents. So right when you walk in the room, I think you've got that equality kind of feeling in that they kind of maybe know where I'm coming from. So it's not like a real formal therapeutic kind of a setting. People meet at their houses. They meet in church or synagogue basements. They meet in the library or Paneras, that kind of thing. So the benefit to that, probably I could relate to it like this. Let's just say you meet a neighbor somewhere and say, I've had a horrible time with the blizzard, and they automatically know how you feel, and they can share things with you. And so when we look at autism, it's a really scary situation, and any comfort we have, just meeting somebody that can relate to how we feel is really quite helpful. I've had different groups I've run myself, and I've never pressured anybody to talk. I think it's perfectly fine for people to visit and not say anything the first time or two, and just get the feel for the group. Another step toward that might be trying to access, maybe call our office and talk to a mom ahead of time, to kind of flush out where your issues are and where you're struggling with, and then maybe hit a group after that or take a friend.
So I think that's fantastic, Lou, the groups. And I'm so glad Darcy asked that question, because in the group, then you finally can trade war stories, and you don't feel alone.
Right.
And Lou, we had some autism experts on last week with Dr. Shelley Hipsky, and it was really interesting to hear a parent that was struggling with a child with autism, and we really heard, but having that community, a group to sit down and talk to each other about what's going on, I'm sure it really helps a lot of the families out, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it validates the reality. So you might find any emotions in that room from somebody who's relieved because they've known for so long that something's different about their child, and they've had a hard time perhaps having people really understand that. A lot of our parents will tell us stories that they'll hear from really anybody, a teacher or a relative or even a doctor saying, oh, he's just a boy. Oh, I actually heard this. You're from an Italian family and they use many vowels. That's why he's not talking right.
Oh,
you have your older parents. You can read his mind. He's got older siblings. They can read his mind. Or he's an only child. He likes to be by himself. So there's a lot of this sort of denial in society, and it helps, I think, to have a parent walk in that room and say, I'm not crazy. If something's going on, and other people say, you know what, we're also looked at the same way, and sort of starting from the diagnosis or pre-diagnosis time all the way through how they feel when they walk into an IEP meeting, so an individualized education special ed plan meeting, and face 10 staff, and they're the only person there without a college degree, and they lose their words. It's hard to talk when you're facing stressful situations, and these people say, yep, been there, done that, I'll go with you next time.
And Lou, you brought up one of the most important things is dealing with the public schools. And I know you said that they're getting better, and Dr. Shelley Hipsky said the same thing last week. But the fact is, some school districts just do not know how to serve this population. Isn't that true?
And I think that's true, and I think the strongest ones that I've worked with will call me in April and say, can you come out and talk to us in August so we can prepare for the next year? So they'll admit. I mean, I think every school district, every person, including myself, has a lot to learn about autism, and that's fine. But it's doing the prep work, to get the training in there. And there's a variety of ways you can do training. It could be through video. There's a lot of online resources that are free. There are plenty of people in Pittsburgh that come out and do some teaching and can follow up with you. I think the key is just to admit it, that you don't know. I'm not sure why people, in any kind of position of power, if it's administrator, superintendent on down to a teacher, would want to act like they know, because it really hasn't been taught in schools, in colleges.
Absolutely.
So,
and I mean, and they vary so much. And you're dealing with, Lou, some that are highly functioning. Like I'm having an Asperger's Roundtable discussion tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern. So if you Google search Asperger's Roundtable discussion, you'll find out what station on the Total Education Network that'll be on, where I have adults with Asperger's are going to be part of the roundtable discussion. I have parents calling in. So again, they don't know really the right answers a lot of times. The public school teachers, and then also the parents, are stuck in a lot of ways.
Right. And I think autism, and especially Asperger's, is tricky, because I'll hear a lot of when I start to hear people, perhaps teachers, say, he should know better. I've told him 1,000 times. I'm blue in the face. I'll say, well, maybe you should stop talking, and maybe we could start doing something like, if he's a big reader, write to him, let him write back, and try different channels. But our kids look perfectly fine, and that's tricky, because it really is an invisible disability for the most part.
Absolutely. Darcy, you have another question?
I do, yeah. I also know that you're a mobile therapist and trainer.
Right.
And I wanted to know if maybe you could talk a little bit about that. I think that would be really helpful to a lot of the parents out there, too.
Well, yeah, and my past job history, I was a mobile therapist, and so I would do a lot of in-home visits with kids and talk to siblings or parents and the child also, just to sort of flesh out how they handle stress, where things aren't going really well, and how to learn coping mechanisms, or how to learn different ways to deal with any parts of life that are demanding. And as far as the training part of that, a lot of times I think it's just really talking about how things are going in front, like in a group. So maybe I am working with a child sometimes, or in my past job, working with a child, writing things back and forth using the computer, and they can fill in blanks. Like sometimes when I do math, I feel, and I leave a blank, and they can either type it, or sometimes if they have language, they can tell me, and we'll put that in. But I'm doing that in front of the teacher so that when I leave, she could take over, or he could take over.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't believe how quickly this interview was, but again, Lou, we're going to have to invite you back to the program, and you're welcome to come to the studio when there's time, especially we're filming today for television as well, cable access in the Pittsburgh area. But I really, one thing is the events that you're planning. Is there a big event coming up right now that you would like to promote?
Well, I've got a couple. We have some great families that gave us some events. So tomorrow from 4 to 9 at Grazzi's in Wexford, we've got the Spring Fling Blues event, put on by a mom who's a competitive blues singer and a nurse, and a mom to 2 people with disabilities. That's at 4 o'clock out in Wexford. And next weekend we've got another family that gave us their bowling alley and said, what can you do? So we're making a Royal Masquerade bowling cocktail party at night. It starts at 9 at Princess Lanes in Whitehall. And then we'll be all walking together at Highmark Walk for Healthy Communities in May. And finally, a free event. It's Venture Outdoors, June 11th. We're going to be up in the north side, putting our kids into kayaks and with life jackets in a 3-foot deep lake, and wall climbing and biking and stuff. So our website, www.aboard.org, will give you all that information.
Absolutely. And Lou, can you get on the mailing list when you go to the website?
We really prefer people do, yeah, because throughout the lifespan, there's all kinds of questions people have about getting anything from free diapers, how do I get medical assistance, how do I transition to high school, what happens after that, and people need to call us and be in our database so we can keep up with their lives.
Lou, I just can't believe it's such an honor that you've called the program. And again, we're just really trying to reach out to autism families and really help them out. And you're doing such a tremendous service. And more people need to know across the country, because this will be streaming. This is streaming globally, internationally as well. So you'll be getting out there, and what you're doing, such great things in Pittsburgh. I really appreciate you calling today.
Well, sure. Listen, it's our parent board that gets it going, and our parent staff. So I appreciate your time and letting me share that with you.
Absolutely. We'll have you on the program another time, okay?
Love to.
All right. Thanks a lot. That was Lou Randall again, the director of a board, and Darcy. Fantastic interview.
Oh, absolutely amazing, yeah.
She's just amazing, and I recommend everyone to Google search a board and learn more about it, especially across the country. And Darcy, I cannot believe very soon I'll be interviewing a general. I thought first a congressman, now a general. So you're listening to the Total Education Hour, and we'll be back in just a moment with General Hobgood. All right.
We know where they've taken her.
In a defining time, amid a noble quest, a bond is forged.
We are here to save the princess.
But the princess is sleeping.
Sorry. Imagine what a little time can do for your family.
The princess is sleeping.
Oh, sorry. Excuse us. Shh.
From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
I am Joan Rivers with an important announcement. Getting old is horrible, okay? Horrible.
You're not old. I mean, you're older, but you're not old.
You want to see old?
Oh, God.
Yes. Grow up, for goodness sakes. The last man to hit on me was an undertaker. I know where
I don't want to talk about
Well,
this,
you're going to
Mom.
have to talk about it. It's the future. It's coming right at us. And I'm not worried about dying. It's getting there. I mean, heaven is going to be fabulous. It's going to be a giant shopping mall, and there's going to be 20% off on everything, except for me, 44.
You know, you're doing jokes, and I'm just not ready.
Well, you have to be ready. You have to listen to me. Look, there are things to discuss. They're going to be my needs. They're going to be my wants.
You know, Mom, I don't want to hear this. I just don't want to hear this. La, la, la,
Don't give me la, 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 la,
I
la.
don't. I can't. I can't do
Talk
this.
to your family about aging, even
No.
if they're not ready to listen. Come on, listen to me. Listen to me.
For the first time?
Yes, for the first time.
No matter who you are, it's not easy talking about aging. For help, go to voa.org/talk. A message from Volunteers of America.
Back to the Total Education Hour again. I'm with my co-host Darcy Hyman, and really excited to introduce my guest today. From Randolph-Macon Academy, Celeste Brooks, you're the PR director, and you have someone to introduce.
I do. Sitting with me here, or with all of us here in the studio, is our school president, Major General Henry M. Hobgood.
It's an honor. Wouldn't you say so as well,
Absolutely,
Darcy?
yes.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, and when I was talking via email and then talking on the phone with Celeste, something I really was surprised about was how military schools have changed. I know Darcy has some questions.
I do, yeah. Actually, first, I just want to say it is an honor having you on the program. Thank you so much for coming in.
It's great to be here, Darcy, and we're enjoying being in Pittsburgh, too.
Good.
Right.
I hope you really enjoy the city. Yeah.
We will. We brought a group of kids out here who are performing at the National Rifle Association convention
wow.
tomorrow night.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, let's go ahead and get into the questions. I want to ask you, I understand that Randolph-Macon Academy is a college prep military boarding school, and there seems to be a pretty popular belief that military schools are reform schools for students who have behavior issues or have been a problem in school. Is that accurate?
Well, I think that's a traditional, conventional way of thinking about a lot of military schools, but it's really very inaccurate, and in our case, totally inaccurate. We take great kids, great families who come for college, come to prepare for college, get them ready, and of course we start with good kids, good curriculum, good kids, good teachers, and the end result is kids who are ready to go to college and ready for life, and you can't do that in a reform kind of school.
Right, exactly.
You know, the two don't mix. And,
right.
No.
Neil understands that as a teacher, and
Yes.
We certainly understand that. So, you have to start with kids who want to learn, who are willing to study hard, and that's our format. And I think that's really the prevailing model now in military prep schools. But there's a different belief, and so one of the reasons we're here tonight is we want to dispel that belief.
Right.
And I think a couple of my co-hosts are calling, and I'll have to check to my producer to see if anyone is on the line. Who's on the line? Is this Jason on the line or Jared?
You got it.
Hey, Jason. Jason, the public school guy. And Jason, I know you have...
veteran, Air Force veteran.
An Air Force veteran. So,
Thank you.
So you're excited to interview General Hobgood. So what question do you have for the General?
Good to talk to you, General.
Hi, Jason.
My understanding is there's a difference between a school that has a military program and a school that has JROTC. Can you explain what the differences are between those two?
Yeah, I think the schools that have the formal JROTC and affiliate with the military service, say in our case the Air Force, we have a set curriculum. The military work that we do is really complementary of the academic program, and it's really sort of a supplemental support thing as opposed to the reason for being there. Traditional military schools without the ROTC really are dedicated toward a military mission. We're dedicated toward an academic mission, and I think that's a defining difference in my view.
And I also have my developmental therapist, behavior specialist expert, Jared, on the line as well. Jared, you have a question for General Hobgood as well.
I do. I was listening to the conversation here and how he described his school, and I'd like to know, what does he think that their school offers for their students that they might not get in the schools within their community? Why would a family choose to send their child to his military school?
That is a really, really great question. Let me tell you why. We all understand that public schools are free, or at least we all pay taxes, and it supports public schools. So why would you bypass that as a parent and pay for private education or pay for a private military school? And, the reasons families come to us is that they want a little bit smaller classes, they want individualized attention, they want a more homogeneous group, student body for their children, and they want to ensure that they have the preparation to go off to college and university. And, those are the reasons the parents give us, and I think they're valid reasons. Public schools do a great job. I'm a product of a public education. I'm very proud of that. I was proud to be a public school student. But I must say that when I went off to college, and I went to an agriculture and engineering college, it was tough going for me for a couple of years, and I almost didn't make it. And, thank God I made it. But it really wasn't because I got a great education. No, I didn't make it. But, it's not for everyone. But I do think that it's worth the investment of resources and time and effort. And military prep schools and in our school, we feel like we're doing a great job for parents and for kids.
All right.
Fantastic.
Okay, Darcy.
Yeah, I know you keep talking about preparing the students for college. Could you kind of describe a typical day for us at Randolph-Macon?
Yeah, I'm going to let Celeste deal with that. She, by the way, she's not only a PR director for our school, but she's one of our moms. So she has a child in school, and she knows what a day in the life of a student at Randolph-Macon Academy is all about.
Fantastic. Yes, it's very busy. Yeah. The boarding students will actually get up at 6:30 in the morning. They'll do their get ready for school and go to breakfast, and then they'll do a formation out front, do a flag raising ceremony. The day students are part of that ceremony, so it's a way of starting the day off right, showing respect to the flag. They're all usually in the military uniform, and then they go to classes, and they spend the majority of their day in those classes with some absolutely fantastic teachers. And they have their sports. They have a couple of more formations throughout the day, mainly at lunch to get announcements. In the evening, they do a retreat ceremony to lower the flag. They'll go to dinner. The day students usually go home right before dinner. And then they have some free time. Then they have a 2-hour study hall in the dorms for the boarding students, and about 10:30 is lights out. So it's a pretty packed day for them.
Wow.
But you'll notice what I didn't say in there. They're not out there crawling around the mud and BDUs or anything like that. Yeah, physical training, that type of stuff is not really part of the curriculum. They do have our ROTC classes do teach citizenship, leadership, and they also will do some exercising, but it's things like dodgeball and maybe running a mile around the track. They're not out there crawling in the mud. Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jason, I know that you're chomping the bit for the next question because
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was looking at your website before I called in just to make sure that I was prepared, and and I saw that you guys have flight programs. What makes Randolph-Macon's flight program so unique?
Well, first of all, it's the only one in the country. We're the only high school in the country with our own internal full-time flight program, and so we have our own aircraft, pilots on staff, and our kids fly. Those who want to fly, and so we fly Cessna 172s, and we train them up through solo and sometimes pilot certification. So we fly internally. We own the airplanes. The pilots belong to us. It is a great opportunity, and we're the only school in America that has this self-contained flight program. It is a highlight program. Kids love it. Can you imagine being a 15, 16-year-old teenager having the opportunity to fly an airplane?
That's awesome.
Like you might play volleyball, for example.
Oh, wow.
And it's a wonderful opportunity.
And we have about 8 to 10 students a year who solo, and usually a couple will even get their private pilot's license.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
We got one last year who made his commercial pilot license.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
That's
Awesome.
fantastic.
Okay, Jarrett.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I want 15-year-olds to be driving a car, let alone being up in the sky flying an airplane.
There's nothing to hit up there.
They're not going to hit you. Yeah, exactly.
Now, unlike Jason, I was not as diligent in my research. What I was going to ask the general was, who is Randolph-Macon?
Yeah, see, that's an educator. That's a good question.
Yeah, who was this guy? Actually, it was two Methodist ministers back in 1892 who formed a school, a consortium of 4 schools, 2 prep schools and 3 colleges. The 2 prep schools combined, the 3 colleges still exist. It was a boys' school, girls' school, and so we're still a community of schools. It's a Randolph-Macon College, Randolph College, and Randolph-Macon Academy. But there were 2 people who formed 2 names who formed the school, Randolph-Macon.
Very cool.
And
So-
it's been around a long time.
And so, Jarrett, see, again, you come up with these questions that are just awesome. I love it. Okay, go ahead, Darcy.
Well, I kind of to take us back to the flight aspect. I know you have a program called High Flight that doesn't have anything to do with learning to fly, and I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Let me tell you about High Flight. Most of our school is dedicated toward preparing students for civilian colleges and universities.
Right.
95% of our students go off to those kinds of schools, and we're very proud of that.
Mm-hmm.
But a limited number, maybe 4 to 5% of our students want to go off for a military career. And if they want a military career, the best way to prepare is through a military service academy or an ROTC scholarship. And so this program, High Flight, is designed to put them on a track of preparation, academic preparation, community service, all physical fitness, all the things that it takes to get into a military service academy. And it is the toughest ticket in town.
Yeah.
Military Service Academy is really, really tough to get into. You can be great academically, but if you can't do the physical fitness thing, and you don't have the community service, and you're not willing to do sports and athletics, then you can't make it. So this program is designed to put a kid on a certain track that we hope will yield a Service Academy nomination. This year, we're producing 2 young women, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
We're very proud of that. Both have been nominated and appointed to the United States Air Force Academy.
All right.
So the results really speak for itself. So a limited number of students, but a very high-profile program.
Right. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
And it all sort of says if you dedicate yourself toward any proposition in school, you achieve results. It's really a very focused, goal-oriented program. It has a specific purpose.
And I'm going to jump in for a second because, again, this is right before I have a question, but we're about to take a break. But I have a great question because, again, of the education reform discussions I have, General Hobgood, and all these different situations where they're knocking public education, private education, homeschooling. I love what you just had to say, but I can't believe I'm looking at, again, when we're always on that clock, but my co-hosts have done an awesome job. Again, we're talking to General Hobgood. We're with Celeste Brooks, the PR director, and we will be, you're listening to Total Education Hour, and I have an awesome question for General Hobgood when we come back. Again, you're listening to Total Education Hour on the Total Education Network, and we'll be back in just a moment. original from Marty and Tim, good friends of mine, and I really enjoyed that one. All right, so we're back to the Total Education Hour with my co-host Darcy Hyman, General Hobgood, and Celeste Brooks. The two are from Randolph-Macon Academy. And Jason, this question, he's talking about dedication, hard work. As Jarrett had to leave, he has to another prior engagement. But dedication, hard work, the best. Why don't they set the bar high like that in public schools, General Hobgood?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the right guy to answer the question, but I'll take a shot at it.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's my impression. I think public schools suffer 3 ills. One, they don't always have enough funding, and that turns into a lot of issues.
Right.
Funding is a tough thing, particularly in the last 5 years or so, and it's really, really tough. And so there's not enough funding. Secondly, it results in larger class sizes than optimum, sometimes maybe twice as many as optimum. In our school, our model is we're dedicated to being 1/2 the size of the public school class size. That's our goal, 1/2 the size. And so our class sizes are 12 to 15 to 18 maximum. Our maximum class size guaranteed 18. Any public school teacher would be delighted.
Amen to that.
Okay, so you understand.
Oh, I'm a public school teacher. Yes,
okay.
I do.
Well, all right, so you can relate to what I'm saying. So that's my second point. My third point I would make is, and this is not a shot at public education, it's really sort of a cultural thing. But in private education, if you're the best in private education, you spend an enormous amount of money on professional development for your teachers.
Right.
Master's degrees, seminars, the best technology you can find, whatever they need to make it come to life in the classroom. Professional development. It sends a great signal to the faculty, and they perform so much better when they're up to date and they believe that you care about them. That's my view. You know, those are 3 simple points, but I think that's a defining difference in the 2 approaches.
Definitely. And you're talking about the best public school state in the country, right? Virginia's number 1.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have very strong schools, but these are the things that parents tell us when they come to see us, and that's my observation. Those are the defining differences.
Okay, Jason, you have a question again.
Well, I mean, I just want to sort of piggyback on what was just stated. You know, I agree with everything that the general had to say. Minor caveat as far as the education of the staff. I know that in Pennsylvania, getting a master's degree is a requirement to be considered to be a teacher beyond 3 years. So, I mean, education is something that is going on even in the public schools. I mean, I'm not so sure it's as systematic as what was said. And the other thing I wanted to add on was that public schools can't deny anybody. Whoever walks through the door, as long as they live within the district, that's who we have to educate, no matter what. Whereas private schools have a luxury of saying if the kid's a curmudgeon is a problem, we can get rid of them because it doesn't meet our standards. So I think that plays a big role in the performance of the schools and everything like that. But getting back to, let's talk about the academy. What percentage of your students go on not just to go into the academies, but actually go into the military? Like just, you know, they ROTC in college, or they go straight to the military?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's one that's really, really misunderstood. The answer is very, very few. Less than 5% of our graduates. By the way, all of our graduates go to college. That's a given. It's a huge investment of resources for parents and time and effort for students. So we expect all of our students to go to college, and we achieve 100% almost always. So given that they all go to college or university, I would say less than 5% go into military careers. So our deal is not preparing them for military careers, but to prepare them for colleges and universities. And the few who want to go in, we have a track for them. That's great, but very few really do, and we're good with that. We're really good with that because that makes us a better school, it makes us a broader school, and it gives us a broader focus for our curriculum.
Okay, Darcy, we kind of already heard this, but again, people that could be tuning in right now, because again, they get off work, General Hobgood brought up this before, but why do I have a general in my studio, not calling on the phone, and they're from Virginia? So you wanted to ask that question.
I do want to ask, what does bring you to Pittsburgh this weekend? Your school is in Front Royal, Virginia?
Right.
Right? Yeah, it's a little over 3 hours away.
It's,
so.
it's 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Well, there are two reasons we're here.
Mhm.
First of all, we've always had a great relationship with the greater Pittsburgh area, and we have many alumnus that live here, and we have students from Pittsburgh, and we had at one time the largest concentration of students of any locale from Pittsburgh. We
Wow.
actually
Oh,
ran
wow.
a bus to Pittsburgh on weekends for our
Mhm.
students at one time.
Oh, that's
so we're
fantastic.
here for two reasons. One, to sort of reintroduce this great city to Randolph-Macon Academy, because we're the best school closest to Pittsburgh, military prep school, bar
Wow.
none.
Okay.
Secondly, we're out here, Celeste and I are out here escorting our band and chorus to perform at the National Rifle Association annual convention tomorrow night. They have a primetime 6:30 show, 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
So we're very proud of that. So we're with the students this weekend, and we wanted to further our efforts here in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's incredible.
You'll see more of us around town, you know, advertisements and that kind of thing.
Celeste, that has to be a lot to get all these kids out here. A lot of preparation.
Oh, it is, and the credit for that all goes to our band director, quite honestly. Ed Richards, he's been with the school for 30 years, and he has run just an awesome program there. My son's actually in the band. He plays the baritone.
Okay.
And they have traveled all over the place. They do the St. Patrick's Day parades in both D.C. and New York City.
wow. Oh, that's great.
They've gone up to Michigan for the Tulip Time Music Festival up there. They have performed down in Florida. And this is the second time that they've actually gone to the NRA convention and performed. They were invited last year, so they performed down in Charlotte, and to our great surprise, they were very, very thrilled with us, so much so that they invited us back again this year for the band and chorus to perform again.
Wow.
Awesome. Jason, any more questions kind of piggybacking what we're talking about just on this being here and the Pittsburgh connection?
No, I'm just enjoying listening to the conversation.
Oh, great. That's why you always have a host to kind of connect. Darcy, any more questions? Because I mean, I'm really just interested in the fact of the other military schools out there. How many military schools are there in the country?
Great question. During World War II, there were approximately 500 military prep schools. Today, there are 41.
Okay.
They belong to a National Association of Military Prep Schools, which I was privileged to be the president of several years ago. And but there are 41 schools, all survivors, all been around a long time.
That's fantastic.
And you know, really, quite frankly, really, really strong and terrific schools. So the ones that are remaining now are terrific educational institutions.
And before that wasn't the case because they were used as boarding, not like truancy schools.
I think that probably was the case in back when, but now, you know, private education is expensive. All of your listeners understand that.
I was going to ask that question.
Even day or boarding, it's expensive. And so why would you want to punish your child by spending $25,000 to $30,000 a year in a boarding school?
Exactly.
That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And so the fact is, of the 51, so you're the closest to Pittsburgh. Most are like
yeah, we're the closest to Pittsburgh east from here, and we're a pleasant 3 hour and 15-minute drive from Pittsburgh. And you know, we're 3 hours and 15 minutes from Pittsburgh. We're an hour and 15 minutes from Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Nestled right in the Shenandoah Valley, one of the most beautiful places in the world.
So landmark-wise, Fort Royal, Virginia.
Front Royal.
Front. See, I made two mistakes today. My
think
wife will have to say that. But Front Royal, Virginia, how far are you, like, what's a major landmark area?
Well, we're right out the northwest corridor is Interstate 81, and its intersection with Interstate 66. We're right in the corner of those two major interstates. We're only 20 miles from West Virginia.
Okay.
We're 30 miles from Maryland. So Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, right in that northwest quadrant of northern Virginia.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Darcy, any more questions for the general? But I think, we have to find something.
We're kind of at the end, yeah.
Yes, it's time for...
I do want to know if we can find some more information on your school, though.
Sure. I'll let Celeste go to that.
You can visit our website. That's www.rma, the initials of Randolph-Macon Academy. So it's rma.edu. So pretty simple to remember. Or you can call the school at 800-272-1414. 1172. We are also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can just type in Randolph-Macon
Do you
Academy
Twitter?
on either. So
You guys need to tweet.
We do tweet a little bit, but we're still trying to get that one working a little
That's
better.
great, yeah.
So you got to follow the Total Tutor. That's where, right, Darcy?
You do.
Yeah, you have to
You
follow
have
the
to.
Total Tutor and the Total Education Hour and all those different. I can't believe in the way we were talking off air. Celeste, how did you find us? Isn't that kind of funny? How?
Well, I found you through Peter Shankman's Help a Reporter Out in that group there.
It's amazing, and I want to thank Dr. Carrie Miller for connecting me with that and Reporter Connection. That just provides such great information. But remember, you guys can go to my website at www.totaltutor.org to access podcasts of my shows, read my blog, and again, the show, General Hobgood, will be on another station on the Teleeducation Network at 11:30 tomorrow night. So we'll make sure that we send out an email so that you can send it out to as many people as possible to listen to the show.
Terrific. And Neil, thanks so much for having us on, you and Darcy, and all the best for your wonderful public service you're doing here.
Well, I appreciate that, and I hope to have you back again. I'm sure you come back to Pittsburgh, and we'll definitely get you on some other interviews to call in, because there's a lot of topics I'm sure that you want to talk about in education.
We'd love to do that.
Great.
All right, well, fantastic. Again, that was General Hobgood and Celeste Brooks. And thank you, Darcy. I want to thank all my guests. I want to thank David Schwartz. I want to thank... I also want to thank Vicky Cobb. I want to thank Lou Randall from aboard. I want to thank Jared for calling in. And Jason, thanks again for calling in. And definitely, you're my co-host Sunday night. And we have some interesting guests on Sunday night. We'll have a prison teacher on the program on Sunday night, so it'll be really interesting, Janice Chamberlain. So again, I get these connections from going to New York City, and we just keep growing. So I appreciate all the people involved, especially my great producer, Chris Perrone, and my other awesome producer, television producer, Christina. Again, I have such awesome people working. I could not do this without you guys, so thank you very much. All right, so again, remember to go to my website, totaltutor.org, to find out what show will be on tonight at 11 o'clock. I'll have an Asperger's roundtable discussion. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I will talk to you tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern on the Total Education Network. Good night, everyone.
With Savings Man.
And with 0% down, all you have to pay on this mortgage is the interest. Now that's affordable.
Are you sure?
Savings Man.
Watch out, you two. This is not your typical mortgage guy. He's really a subprime mate. Out you go. Monkeying around with the wrong mortgage can destroy your dreams.
You're right, Savings Man.
Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. For more tips and tools, visit choosetosave.org today.
The American Legion. We're a powerful force for the nation. We pledge ourselves to our veterans, our youth, a strong national defense, and Americanism. These 4 pillars shape our work and what we do for America. We work relentlessly within our 4 pillars of service, and we succeed. We're committed to making sure all veterans receive the benefits they deserve for the sacrifices they've made in service to America. We support and promote citizenship and integrity in America's future leaders. We know what policies, tools, and manpower our military needs to protect this great country. We fight to get these things done. We're patriots through and through. We promote and defend these values every day in communities across the nation. Go to legion.org to find out more about the American Legion's commitment of service to America.
Don't know which way to turn. Well, there's a place you can go to put an end to your frustration.
It's a site that everyone should learn.
USA.gov.
Find your Social Security benefits online.
USA.gov.
Our list of jobs will put you on cloud nine.
USA.gov.
Shop auctions for a used minivan anytime.
USA.gov.
You can apply for a student loan.
USA.gov. Get energy-saving tips for your home. USA.gov.
So great you might just get carpal tunnel syndrome.
It's government